Our journey begins at Heathrow Airport, so once we arrive we catch a London cab to our hotel, which is always a part of the charm and the experience. Grosvenor House is the JW Marriott in London, and that's the hotel we booked for a very special reason. According to my map, said to be where Mr. Darcy had his house, in the story of Pride and Prejudice. Because we were going to stay here, 48 hours? We stayed in just a standard room. I think they said they'd upgraded us, but it certainly wasn't one of their fancier suites.
Please, they gave us a good day.
But as the Titanium Elite members, we got access to the lounge, and that's what matters. It meant that I started my trip to London with afternoon tea, and Andrew started his trip in London with a walk to the pub, and then obviously a visit to the pub. The concierge at the hotel recommended this pub because what Andrew had wanted to try was a real pint of real English ale. And so that's what he ordered, and I obviously had the good sense to order chips because, well, there was that Doctor Who episode. Now, I won't lay any blame, but just like in Copenhagen, some people are convinced I'm going to walk under a bus. At this point, I was mostly out of time and needed to head back to actually make it to the meetings, which is why I flew to London in the first place. But we did have the opportunity to obviously walk through the park and just enjoy the traffic. Yes, there was a lot of traffic. Hyde Park is particularly beautiful, and as an Australian, I'm always excited about squirrels, of course.
What's he doing to that bird?
Hyde Park is as serene as any loud place full of other people could be. And then after the meetings, it was, time for dinner at the lounge, which then quickly followed breakfast at the lounge because obviously I didn't do actually any filming. I was exhausted by this point. And you've obviously at some point heard me rant about the Titanium Elite program and the access to the lounge and the benefits of those access, because you're just not making the decisions that you would have to make. So, in fact, the first decision for me that morning was, where am I going to get my latte? Whenever we're facing wet, miserable weather, I suggest a photo walk, which is just walking in the wet, miserable weather to wherever you were going, but stopping to take pictures. So here in the London Underground network, I took that photo, which I was very excited about. And then we just decided that we were going to take public transport that day so that we could go and see the Tower of London and the Tower Bridge. And I think the rain adds to it. I think it creates these beautiful backdrops, but it also encourages, if you call it a photo walk, it encourages you to enjoy the rain for what it is, as opposed to just kind of sitting there and feeling like everything is now going wrong with the sightseeing or with the tour that you had planned or whatever that might be. I also took some phone calls. Reception is really rubbish in very, very old, strong, stone-built buildings, and yet what needed to happen has occurred. And so that was basically the end of the work portion for my day. We decided that for our last afternoon in London, we had to squeeze in everything else. And so at that point, I sort of said, look, let's give ourselves permission to get back into a London cab because, hey, that forms a part of the adventure and a part of the experience. So obviously, that's what we did. We caught a cab to the London Eye and to Big Ben.
That is a good Ferris wheel.
It's a bit wet.
And so we went back on our pub crawl.
What?
I think it'd be too dark for our bedroom.
Yeah.
Where are we?
With the old shades.
When in Rome, right? This was also the first time where I gave tea with milk a chance, because I was morally against such things for a very long time. But up to pub 3, 4, who even knows at this point, I really just needed some variety in my beverage. At Trafalgar Square, the red buses provided such a lovely opportunity to take photographs and really just see the hustle and bustle. We didn't actually get to go to the National Gallery. I went last time I was there, but Andrew hasn't been. And for him, it was all about getting to taste the beers, getting to enjoy the atmosphere, and getting renovation tips as to what he thought we should do at home. After a brief interlude of this beautiful, radiant sunlight and no drizzle and no rain, we went and had a look at this amazing little modern, mesmerizing mindfulness exhibit that they had.
Must be laser. MSO's really are the world's biggest TVs.
I got to sneak in a little tiny trip to Harrods because Andrew had, at this point, had enough beer. We then walked to Buckingham Palace, which is the official residence of the British monarchy. And then we walked back to our hotel because it was time to get packed. Tomorrow morning we were going to be leaving for Brussels.